Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista. We're outside right now. I just have to go and add my banana peel mixture to my black peppers. We just finished having a pretty good rainstorm. It's hard to tell on camera, but it looks like it still may rain a little bit today. But we're gonna go and put this mixture on the pepper plants in the back because this is kind of starting to ferment already. I can hear it like bubbling and stuff, so I need to get it on my peppers. So we're just gonna head back and get that done. Today I have a little fun copycat recipe that I'm gonna make with you. Steven has been asking for hash browns lately, like breakfast hash brown. They make these ones that are in like a patty form almost, and that's the kind that he wants. But I don't really want to buy them because they're kind of full of like some stuff that we don't necessarily really want to eat. Thought I would make a McDonald's style hash brown today. I found a recipe on Pinterest and I will leave it linked for you guys below. But I thought we would give it a try and see if it actually tastes like McDonald's hash browns, because I actually like McDonald's hash browns. Like I said in my last video where we made the Big Mac sauce, I like McDonald's breakfast. I don't like everything else about the restaurant, but their breakfasts are delicious. Like, it's a really good option. So I thought we would do that today. But again, first I gotta get this on my pepper plants. I'm just out here kind of assessing the back garden because we just had a really good rainstorm. I don't know if you can see the turkeys in the background. They're my little peanut gallery. Every time I'm out here, they're always just kind of following me around. Their back area kind of got a little bit flooded with this dumping of rain, but it'll dry up pretty quick back here because we haven't had rain for about a week, so it should dry up pretty quick. I'm gonna have to be pretty quick back here because the mosquitoes are really bad. We have a lot of right there, that's our pond. We have a lot of sitting water back here right now, so the mosquitoes just kind of I'm getting attacked. The mosquitoes kind of just get really bad this time of year. Next week, once it starts to dry up a bit, Steven is going to get back here and mow down, like bush hog this back pasture, and that should help a little bit with some of the mosquito population that has just been thriving lately with our weather. This was all dried up as of yesterday, but again, because we got that rain, it's all now just flooded again. I think I have completely given up on this. I'm really not allowing myself to stress about it. I was getting so upset about the fact that I wasn't going to be able to get corn this year because I really was looking forward to being able to put up a whole bunch of corn. And I have a corn sensitivity, so I have to be really careful on what corn I actually eat. I have found that when I buy corn that has been sprayed with anything, like any type of herbicide or pesticide, anything like that, if I eat that, I get a really bad stomach ache. Like, it really affects me, like almost sends me to the hospital, affects me. I think it's an allergy that I have. But I grew my own corn last year and I could eat that with no problems because I didn't spray it. I didn't use any type of fertilizer on it, nothing. It was just plain corn grown in the dirt. And I could eat it perfectly fine. So I was really hoping to be able to get a corn harvest this year so that I could eat corn again this upcoming year, but it's not looking like that's gonna happen. It looks bad right now. I'm thinking that come July, once we start to, or June actually, once we start to really get those good hot dry days, this should dry up pretty good and I should be able to get some corn in there. So again, I'm not really stressing about it. I've kind of left it into God's hands, and I really have been, it's really been put on my heart just to kind of give that to God and not to fear about it. So I'm not worrying about that huge puddle that I have back there right now. But what I am going to do is get this banana mixture on my peppers. Okay, let's get this put on. Last time I had some of this, I put it on this bed, so I'm not going to put it on this bed right now. I'm going to kind of focus on this back bed. These are all my sweet peppers back here. So all I do is I just take my water mixture and I just kind of dump it around the base of the plants. And then I just take the banana peels and I just kind of lay them in the bed. Banana peels decompose very, very quickly, so I don't have a problem with just leaving them whole on here. Now I have this empty, I can start putting more banana peels in it. Bananas are super high in potassium, so what this does is it's a really good fertilizer. Plus the banana peels, like I said, they decompose very, very quickly and go right into the soil. The other thing I'm doing is I'm just picking off some of my pepper flowers. Some of them aren't super well established yet. This guy right here is not super well established, and this guy I just put in the ground. That's why he's so much lighter than these ones. These ones have been out here for a couple weeks, and you can just see the different color in the green. These are just been adjusted a little bit more longer. So with that one storm, as I was telling you guys on my other video, I kind of got some hail damage on my peppers. So I came back here and I put some new peppers in that I had already started. I had extra peppers. Praise the Lord, I started extra. So I put them in the ground, but they are looking a little bit lackluster right now, and that is just because I just transplanted them, so I'm not too concerned about it. That banana water will kind of give them some good fertilizer. I might come back here and potentially maybe next week give them some fish emulsion just to help them a little bit more. The other thing I need to do is go potentially today, if I have some time, go and see if I can find some edamame like soybeans from like a big box store, just a bean packet. Edamame beans usually only take about 90 days to grow, 85, 90, depending on what variety you're using. So some of them take a little bit longer. I believe there's some that actually take about 100 days. So I still have a lot of time to get those beans put in. So I think I might go today and see if I can find some more, because I put some in, but it was a really old seed packet, so the germination was really, really bad. Plus, I compete with a lot of birds out here because we're in an open field. You know what I really want to get out here, and I told Steven that I wanted to get one? You know those things they have at used car sales lots? They're like inflatable things, and they just kind of do like this. I told Steven I wanted to get one for back here. That's the best way I can describe them. I absolutely love them, and I think it would be so awesome to have them one back here, just scare all of the to scare all the birds away from my strawberries and from everything else that's growing. It's definitely scaring the turkeys right now, me just doing that. It was rather scary looking, I think. I'm just gonna quickly also, while we're back here, I am gonna pull some weeds out of these strawberry beds. They are doing really, really well back here. None of the strawberries that I just put in, I went and bought 25 more bare roots and I put them in. Unfortunately, none of them took, but that is perfectly fine because look at this. This guy has like crazy runners coming off of them. So I'm getting my strawberry plants just off of my runners. So while I'm back here, I'm just gonna quickly get these weeds out because the soil is nice and wet. I can easily pull them out. So I'm gonna quickly do that, and then we will head inside because it's kind of actually a little bit chilly today. It's kind of nice. It's a nice break from that hot, humid weather. So I'm gonna get those quickly pulled, and then we'll head inside, and then we will get those hash browns started. I got absolutely totally distracted on my phone. I got busy doing something else, and so now we are actually going to get these hash browns started. I'm taking some russet potatoes. This recipe does say to use russet potatoes because they are more starchy, and you want to make sure that you're using a high starch potato because it says that they stick together a lot better. So we're gonna take our potatoes and we need to get them all peeled. This recipe calls for 20 ounces of potatoes, of russet potatoes. So I have 9 potatoes here, and they're all like medium-sized potatoes. This is probably way more than 20 ounces, but what we'll do is we'll just kind of adjust it. Hopefully it's not too dark for you guys. I do want to make quite a bit because these are going to go into the freezer as a really quick breakfast to be able to grab. So we're going to probably be using over 20 ounces. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of adjust the seasoning to whatever the amount of potatoes that we're using. And it is like really chilly outside. I have this window open and there's such a cool breeze blowing in. It's kind of nice. So we're gonna just take our peeled potatoes and we're gonna just put them in this bowl. Once we get all of these potatoes peeled, we are going to use a box grater, and we're gonna use the one that has the biggest holes in it. And we're just gonna grate these potatoes all up and then get them in some cold water. Okay, so we got them all peeled up. Now what we're gonna do is just quickly rinse them off so that they don't have any dirt on them. I don't really wanna grate them when they're dirty, so let's get them cleaned off. So the other thing that I'm doing is I'm just filling this bowl up with some cold water. I might even put some ice in this because I need it to be really, really, really cold water. Just gonna put these potato skins in my compost bin. I have seen some people actually boil their potato skins and then they actually feed them to their chickens. You can't, it's not recommended to give your chickens raw potato peelings. Sometimes they can have some type of toxin in them. Raw potatoes are not good to eat in general, so they say if you are going to feed them to your livestock, just to kind of pre-cook them a little bit, but I don't have time for that today. So some of our potatoes actually have some little like grossness on them. So what I'm doing before we grate them is I'm just cutting off the bad spots because I don't want that in my hash browns. Only a couple of them had it. So now we're gonna use our box grater. And again, we're gonna pick the side that has the largest holes in it. There's all these different options, but the recipe does say to use this particular side of the box grater. So we're just gonna grate our potatoes now. I hate getting to this like last little piece because I have in the past shredded my hands before, so I get really paranoid and I usually don't. I'll just leave this piece and throw it in the compost. Actually, these would probably be good, really good fried up in some of that tallow that we just made. Okay, so after we're done grating it, we have our bowl of cold water over here. We're gonna put the potatoes into the cold water. That way they don't go brown while we're getting all of the rest of them grated. Have all of our potatoes in our water. So what it says to do is just to mix them around until the water becomes cloudy. And you can see how cloudy it already is. What this is doing is it's supposed to be removing the excess starch from the potatoes. So now that we've stirred them, kind of like swished them around a bit, and the water has become good and cloudy, what we're gonna do is I have a mesh strainer over top of my sink here. We are going to just drain these out. I have a really thin tea towel here on my counter. We're just gonna take these grated potatoes and just transfer them over to this tea towel. See all the starch in the sink here from those potatoes. I'm just gonna gather all of this tea towel up here and we're just gonna strain out all of the liquid out of here. This is why you use a thin tea towel. Okay, I've got as much as I can strength to get it out. I've got the water out of it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and we're just gonna put it into a mixing bowl. Okay, so we have all of our potatoes now put into our mixing bowl. Just get you guys over here so you can see. So what we're gonna do, I say we probably have doubled this. If I really wanted to, I could measure it out, but I would say we definitely have way more than 20 ounces of potatoes in here. So the original recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So we're probably gonna end up putting in about 2 teaspoons, maybe 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And then probably like half a teaspoon, 3/4 teaspoon of pepper. And we're just gonna get that mixed in. And then right here on my stovetop, I have a very large skillet. We're gonna turn that on to medium heat. And what we're gonna do is we are going to cook these potatoes for about 3 to 4 minutes. It does state to make sure that they do not stick. So you gotta keep them kind of stirred up. And it also doesn't say anything about adding oil or anything like that to the pot. We're just trying to like lightly cook these. Again, it just says 3 to 4 minutes. We're just gonna dump these in here. Now it really does stress not to overcook them. It actually states it in a couple different spots on the recipe. It says that if you overcook them, it will result in like kind of a mushy hash brown. You just wanna lightly cook them. I'm gonna get this bowl rinsed out quickly while these are cooking. I'm just gonna kind of keep them stirred. That way they don't stick to the bottom, they don't burn. We're just gonna lightly cook them until they're soft. And I also just wanna stress again, I did not put any oil in this. I just put the potatoes in. I think they're pretty good. It's been about 3 to 4 minutes. And again, I'm so paranoid to overcook them. So we're just gonna get them out of there and we're gonna add them to this bowl. See, they're already starting to stick. Okay, so we have them all added to the bowl now. I was thinking that maybe I should have really like made a lot more of this. I didn't want to make a huge batch of this just in case they didn't turn out the right way the first time we make them together. So I thought just by me just doubling the recipe, I'm taking a little bit of a chance on wasting potatoes, but I'm not like wasting like a 10-pound bag of potatoes. But if these turn out, we are definitely going to be making these again because like I said, Stephen really wanted to have an option that he could quickly just grab a hash brown and be able to just like lightly cook it and then take it to work with him in the morning. So now that we have our potatoes transferred over to our mixing bowl, what we're gonna do is we are going to add about a half a teaspoon of onion powder. This is completely optional. You do not need to add this if you do not want to. It is an optional addition. I'm probably adding a little bit more because again, we doubled the amount of potatoes. Well, I don't know if we doubled the amount. I'm assuming we doubled the amount. So we need to add 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. You can also use corn flour in this as well. And you notice there my tablespoons were a little bit heaping, and again, that's because we have more potatoes in here. So we're just gonna mix this all in together. I hope I didn't overcook these potatoes. Okay, now we have one of our baking pans and we have it lined with a silicone mat. It says to take 1/3 cup of this mixture and put it on a mound on the baking sheet. Now I kind of want them to be, you know, like the shape of the McDonald's hash brown. So I'm gonna kind of shape them a bit just so they get kind of like, you know, the shape. And it does say, actually, I just read the recipe a little further, and it does say to shape them into a rectangle shape. And I'm gonna try to make them not super thick because I do want them to be able to fry really well. So you don't want to like leave it like a mound like this because then the insides won't get fried up when you go to cook them. I put too much in that mound. I'm guessing you kind of have to be pretty exact with the 1/3 cup because you don't want them to be too big. I'm trying to turn my perfectionist off because I'm wanting these to be like perfect rectangle shape, and I just have to not let that, have to give that idea. I don't need them to be perfect. Just trying to make them look like a 3-year-old didn't make them. Okay, we got another baking sheet done. Couple of things the recipe does say. When you are making this mixture, you can use a tapioca pudding, or not tapioca pudding. You can use a tapioca flour instead of corn flour or cornstarch. It also does state having damp hands does help with the flattening thing. And it does say to make sure when you are shaping the hash browns that you are shaping them really tightly, because it helps them stay together when you are cooking them. So what we have to do now, we have them all done. This is how many I got, which is perfect for us to be able to try them. So it says to cover them and then chill them in the fridge for 30 minutes. What we're gonna do, because we are freezing these essentially, is we are actually just going to put these in the freezer and flash freeze them like this. I'm gonna give them about 30 minutes just to kind of harden up, and then after the 30 minutes, we will take them out and we will individually pack them. I thought what would be fun for tonight's supper, since we are making these hash browns, and to experiment to see if we actually like them, because I want to show you guys how they cook up and to see if I actually did form them good, that they're not gonna fall apart. So I thought for supper tonight, since I have some sourdough starter here, I fed it this morning because I'm gonna make a loaf of bread tonight. I thought we could make some sourdough discard waffles, have those, and then we can fry up some of those hash browns to have on the side as well. We are going to completely carb load supper tonight. Just go all out. My favorite kind of supper. So we're gonna do waffles, we'll do the hash browns, and then we'll probably fry up maybe an egg to go on the side, just, you know, to round it off. So we're gonna get these into the freezer, and like I said, the recipe does state if you're going to cook them immediately from this, it says to put them in the fridge for 30 minutes just to kind of firm up. I just wanted to go and double check and read some of the notes about freezing them, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to pre-cook them first. What it does say is to freeze, place the hash browns in a freezer bag or container, and they will stay good in the freezer for up to 2 months. To reheat the hash browns, you do not need to thaw them, you just need to throw them in the oven and cook them as normal. So it actually does not say whether I can just freeze them in the uncooked form. So I think what we'll do is we will pre-cook all of the hash browns. It does state here how to store. Let the cooked hash browns cool completely and then place in a container. They will stay in the fridge cooked for up to 4 days. It says to reheat, place hash browns on a baking tray and warm oven or in a toaster. So I think maybe what we better do is we better pre-cook them before we freeze them. And then that way when Steven wants to have them for a quick breakfast, or I want to have them for a quick breakfast, they're already pre-cooked, and then we just have to do the heating up process. So let's do that instead of flash freezing these uncooked. So we will put them in the fridge covered. I'm gonna cover them with some plastic wrap. We'll put them in the fridge for about 30 minutes. It'll be more than 30 minutes because it's only 2 o'clock and these are gonna be for supper. So we'll leave them in the fridge until we're ready to get our supper started. And then once it's around supper time, we'll come back and then we'll get those waffles started, and then I'll show you how these hash browns get all fried up. Those have been resting in there for a couple of hours. It is now almost 5 o'clock. So we're gonna get started on getting the sourdough waffle batter pre-made. We're just gonna set that aside, and then while we are frying up the hash browns, what we'll do is we will be cooking the waffles at the same time. The recipe that I am using to make this waffles is from this cookbook. This is my favoritist sourdough cookbook. This book literally taught me how to make sourdough. It is so good. I do have it linked below in my description for you guys if you wanted to check it out. If you do not have a sourdough starter, this book actually teaches you how to make a starter. I have kind of tweaked some of these directions a little bit to make them work a little bit better for me. I found that some of these directions, they just weren't working for me. It wasn't resulting in a really good loaf. So I've kind of tweaked this a little bit, but this is a very, very good book to learn how to start making sourdough. Highly, highly recommend it. So there is discard recipes in here. So we are going to use the sourdough waffle recipe. It says it's a cinnamon, sugar, sourdough waffle, but we're not gonna do the cinnamon sugar to go on top of it. I think all I'm gonna put on top is maybe some raspberries or bananas. So we'll just omit that part of it. Whenever I do anything with sourdough, I always use my kitchen scale. I think that it just tends to get stuff a little bit more spot on to the measurements. So in a bowl, what we're gonna do is we are going to get our milk, our starter, 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and an egg. We're gonna get that all combined into here, but I'm gonna actually measure it out. So we're gonna use 240 milliliters of milk. It says you can use whole milk or 2%. You can also use non-dairy if you would choose so, but it says 1 cup. But again, we're gonna do the measurements, so, or the weight measurements. So did I say 240? And I just made my bread, so I have some sourdough starter right here. And we need to use 120 grams of this, or half of a cup. Pretty much just used all my starter, which is fine. That is definitely more than enough for me to feed it. 28 grams of melted butter. I'm gonna use my dough whisk, and I'm just gonna get this whisked up quickly first. And then we're gonna add our 1 egg. Okay, we need to add 10 grams of baking powder. Okay, and now we need to add 1 cup of flour, or you can add 120 grams. And then 1 tablespoon of sugar, or 12 grams, or yeah, 12 grams. Okay, and then we need some salt. It says half a teaspoon of salt. It doesn't give you the gram measurements. So add half a teaspoon. I think I'm actually gonna add a touch bit of flour to this. It's a little bit too runny for my liking. If you guys don't have a sourdough starter, I did a video on how I make my pre-made pancake mix. If I can find it, I will link it here or in the description for you guys. You could definitely use that particular pancake mix and make waffles with it if you don't have a sourdough starter. I'm just using this because I love that sourdough taste. My starter is very fermented and it is very sour, which I love. So I really, really like sourdough, and I thought that would be perfect to go with the hash browns. So I'm gonna just thicken this up a little bit, and then we're gonna set it aside for a minute while we get our hash browns started. So these guys have been in here, like I said before, probably maybe 3 hours. So they should be good and formed. On our stovetop, we are gonna pan fry these. The recipe says to pan fry them in avocado oil, which is what we're gonna use today. I was also debating using some tallow. I just made up, I think 7, oopsie, I accidentally turned that on. I just made up about 7 jars, pint-sized jars of beautiful, beautiful beef tallow from our beef order that we got last year. I finally got around to doing it. This is what it looks like. And then yesterday I also canned a whole bunch of chicken. So yesterday was a busy canning day for me and just kind of getting some stuff done. But anyways, I made all of that tallow and I thought it would be perfect to fry these in, but I'm not gonna do it. We're just gonna use the avocado oil. Actually gonna get this heated up a bit. The recipe does state not to heat the pan too much because you do not wanna burn them. You wanna just pretty much pan fry them. It says pan fry the hash browns until golden brown, 5 to 6 minutes. Then flip them and continue to cook another 5 minutes on the other side until both sides are golden brown. Then we have to remove them from the oil with a slotted spoon. We're just gonna use this. This is actually a fryer spatula. I love this spatula so much. It's really thin and it's really easy to get underneath stuff. I love it for making cookies. Then we're gonna take them out of the oil and then we're gonna place them on a plate with some paper towel or whatever you use in replacement for paper towel. And then it says it's a good idea to let them kind of dry off a little bit. I thought it would be a good idea to relay the notes to you guys because they are pretty important stuff that's written in them here. So it says, be careful not to have your cooking oil too high. When cooking the hash browns, it will burn the outside quickly and not cook the inside, which is pretty much why it says to keep it at a medium heat. It says cook until golden brown. Be sure to drain on the kitchen towel to remove the oil from the hash browns. Cooked hash browns can be stored in the fridge for up to 4 days. To reheat the hash browns, put on a baking tray in a warm oven or in a toaster. Hash browns can be covered and frozen for up to 2 months, which is perfect because that's exactly what we want to do. So let's get to cooking these. It says about 3 tablespoons of avocado oil. Just get that added in here. Feels pretty hot, so let's get our first one in. So we're just gonna lift it like that and then just put it here in the oil. I'm gonna definitely turn it down. We'll do about 3 at a time. That way we don't overcrowd the pan and then make the oil not hot enough. Now these, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but when I am taking them off, I'm being really gentle and going right underneath them. Because we just put them in the fridge, they are not like solid in that form. They are very loose still, so they're not frozen. They're not in that form. So you have to be really careful when lifting them off of the baking sheet and putting them into the frying pan. You don't want them to lose their structure. One thing that I remember reading when I actually bought my waffle iron is it said never to use a cooking spray in a waffle iron. And the reason is because it actually causes a coating on the waffle iron that can damage it and cause it not to clean very easy. It always says to use butter on your waffle iron. So all I do is I just take a stick of butter. This is some of my homemade butter that I made. And then I just go like this with it. And then we'll use about 1/3 cup of the batter on here. I did add some more flour. Actually, we're gonna use probably 2/3. I did add more flour to this, but it is still pretty runny. That flipped over. I'm gonna turn this down a bit. We have about 2 more minutes, but I am actually gonna flip it because these are looking pretty done on that side and I don't want to overcook them. Oh, actually they're not done. Let me just, I take that back. It's, you know what it is? It's because of my burner element. It doesn't cook things evenly. Like, see that? That's done on that side. So let's just take this timer off first of all. I'm just gonna rotate these a bit. Waffle just said it was done, so let's get the first one out. Here's the first waffle. So delicious. I think 2 of these are done. This one is not done because it was in a spot that wasn't on direct heat. So we're gonna take these guys off. And I have a paper towel lined plate here. We're just gonna put them on this plate. And one thing that I did see one of the commenters say is this is really good just sprinkling some salt over top of it. So let's just flip them. We'll sprinkle some salt over top. Okay, so we're gonna get the rest of these fried up, and then what we'll do is once all of our waffles are done, we'll get our plate ready, and then I will let you guys know how these taste. I could not wait. I had to try it. I had to sneak a little peek or a little taste. This is amazing. This tastes exactly like how I remember the McDonald's hash brown tasting. It is so good. So very good. I am definitely going to be making this again. Sorry, the waffle, I gotta move you because the waffle iron's in the back making a bubbling noise. But guys, this is a genuine, really good copycat recipe. It is so good. Like putting that salt on right like after they come out of the oil, that also I think is the key, because you know McDonald's stuff is like just salt laid, like it's good. It's really good. So this is definitely a winning recipe. I am really, really glad that I chose to do this with you guys because, like I said, this is gonna be going in the freezer and I know that Steven is gonna love these. So I'm definitely gonna be doubling this. So what I'm gonna do is once these are cooled off, I will individually wrap them and throw them into a freezer bag and put them in the freezer. And then whenever Steven wants one for breakfast, he just has to take them out and throw them in the toaster and it's ready to go, because this is a winner of a recipe. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I will leave a link for you guys below. That way, if you want to give this a try, if you want to batch cook it. So I am going to finish frying these up and then I'm going to get my waffles done. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to let you guys know. The waffles, you can actually pre-make these and then throw them in the freezer as well. And then these go perfect in the toaster for a really quick breakfast one morning. So I'm not gonna eat all of these waffles by myself. So I'm gonna have one and then I'll end up throwing the rest in the freezer so that I can just have them for a really quick breakfast one day. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys. I wanted to just come back before I get my plate ready, and I wanted to give you guys a little tip. If you have a waffle maker and you struggle to get it clean, this right here is the trick. I don't know where I learned this. You just get it a little wet. Sorry if this is bouncy, I'm doing this without my tripod. You just get it wet and then it actually fits in all of these like kind of little areas, and then that way you can get all of the little debris out of it, because you're not supposed to really immerse these in, well, you are definitely not supposed to immerse these in water, but this works perfect. So I just come along here and just do this, and this is perfect for cleaning these waffle irons. I just picked this up, I think I got it at Lowe's or Home Depot in the painting section. It's just one of these, it's probably too close, sorry. Just one of these, what is it called? I don't know, sponge painter? Perfect. That's how you clean waffle irons. All right, my plate is all ready. I've got my hash browns. I put a little bit of banana on top of my waffles. I'm gonna have this to drink with it. This stuff is so good. It tastes exactly like a creamsicle. If you can find this flavor and you like that sparkling water stuff, amazing. So I have my hash browns sitting here. I'm gonna just flash freeze them and then individually wrap them because they're still a little hot right now, and if I just freeze them in a bag, they're all gonna stick together. So get those in the freezer, and then we've got our waffles here. Same thing, I'm just gonna cool them down a little bit. I like to break them up into these individual pieces. That way I can just take them out like that and just pop these in the toaster. So those are gonna go in the freezer as well. So that is supper tonight. Thanks again for watching, guys.